As we all know, cybersecurity is so complicated and everyone has their own challenges. So everybody's looking for help. So to
Right.
have a ready resource, a
Right.
continuous resource just is definitely helpful as compared to going to a conference once in a while and getting some feedback and maybe forgetting about what they learned. So this is almost like a repository of knowledge that they
Yeah,
can tap into, correct?
that's right. It's just fascinating to watch people help each other and to
Yeah.
just be sometimes a fly on the wall, sometimes a part of it, or just being a connector or such. But I have a lot of great people around me that
Hmm.
teaching me things. Like this whole organization is, well, we say small but mighty. There's a lot of really smart people who have been doing this for a while,
Hmm.
including the president of the company. She's really great at building the culture, building up kind of just the buzz, a lot of good people in this organization. So I'm still learning and I'm a year in, and sometimes it's very fast paced and sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. It's almost like a startup feel, but it's very powerful and just beautiful.
Welcome to the Cybersecurity Readiness Podcast Series with Dr. Dave Chatterjee. Dr. Chatterjee is the author of the book Cybersecurity Readiness, a holistic and high-performance approach, a Sage publication. He has been studying cybersecurity for over a decade, authored and edited scholarly papers, delivered talks, conducted webinars and workshops, consulted with companies, and served on a cybersecurity SWAT team with Chief Information Security Officers. His work on proactive cybersecurity has been featured on USA Today. Dr. Chatterjee has been a tenured professor at the Terry College of Business at the University of Georgia. As a Duke University visiting scholar, Dr. Chatterjee teaches in the cybersecurity programs at the Pratt School of Engineering.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cybersecurity Readiness Podcast Series. I'm your host, Dave Chatterjee, and today we will be exploring one of the most important yet under-discussed roles in our industry, the Chief Information Security Officer in a global nonprofit organization. In the corporate world, CISOs are often measured by metrics like cost avoidance, compliance, and market share protection. But in the nonprofit space, the stakes are different. Here, cybersecurity directly safeguards the mission, protecting donor trust, member data, and the very ability to serve communities worldwide. Joining me is Pam Lindemoen, Chief Security Officer and Vice President of Strategy at the Retail and Hospitality Information Sharing and Analysis Center. Pam brings nearly 3 decades of security leadership experience, from building enterprise risk programs at Anthem to advising CISOs at Cisco and now leading global collaborative security efforts for the retail and hospitality sectors. Pam, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Great to have you, Pam. And Pam, can you pronounce your last name so I make sure I don't mess it?
You pronounced it right, Lindamone.
Lindamone. Okay,
It was
fantastic.
perfect. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, when you and I were having the introductory meeting, I was really intrigued by the organization that you're part of now. And we will talk about it because it puts you in an interesting role and position to do what you do. So this will be a great opportunity to talk about cybersecurity experiences in the context of for-profit and non-profit. But before we go in that direction, you've had an amazing career and you will continue to have one. But share with us some of the highlights.
Yeah, I've had about 30 odd years in IT, and I've had the privilege of working with some of the most incredible teams in infrastructure, software development, and the last 14 years has really been focused on security. But I would say that I've been exposed to security a lot longer than I've been in it. It's just been an interesting ride for me. But I've also been in the financial sector and the health sector, and now retail and hospitality. And each sector is different. They have different nuances, but each of those taught me something about risk or resilience and the power of collaboration in different fashions. So I think you mentioned it. For those who aren't familiar, ISAC stands for Information Sharing and Analysis Center. And ISACs are communities where various organizations share threat intelligence and best practices with each other. And the idea of it is real simple. If one of us sees something, we let others know so that we're all better prepared. And we focus on the retail and hospitality, consumer-facing industries. And they're frequent targets, so working together is essential. But I've been a technologist, fell into the industry, and really found a home in security. Primarily, for me personally, is all about protecting family, friends, and organization from what I would just say are modern day criminals.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you very much. In fact, I'd like to add a few more because I find your organization very interesting. So I did do some research, and exactly what you said. It's a nonprofit, member-driven organization serving as the primary cybersecurity information sharing community for retailers, hotels, restaurants, gaming, and consumer-facing industries. It provides a trusted platform for members to collaborate, share intelligence, and strengthen defenses against cyber threats. That's a really nice approach where you're kind of pooling together knowledge, best practices, where organizations are coming together to help each other out. Is this kind of an organization or community in existence for other industries, or is this unique to retail and hospitality?
There are other ISACs that were vertical specific, and some of our members are members of multiple, because you can imagine what you might see in a sector, you might not see in another. There are different tactics that people take. Like if you think about retail and hospitality, they prey upon the hospitality part of the business. And that's unfortunate because they're such nice people, right? There's financial services, there's a health ISAC, auto ISAC, aviation. I can go on and on and on. And what's interesting about retail and hospitality is how the threat actors are positioning against this particular community. So there are threats across all, right? But it's really kind of how the business is run and business resilience that you can focus on with the specific sector focus. So yes, there's tons of them out there. I don't know how many off the top of my head, but there are many.
Well, that's very enlightening. Good to know. I didn't know. Now, as a follow-up, and I think I asked you this question during our initial meeting, you are part of this organization. You're in the capacity of a security leader. So you're responsible to protect security of their assets. Plus, you are providing intelligence support so the member organizations can protect theirs. So it's kind of a dual role, right? And that is quite unique compared to another CISO of an organization who exclusively focuses on the security needs of their organization. And you've been in that position before. So how did you make the transition? What do you find interesting in your new role? What do you find challenging in your new role? Share with us.
Sure. In a nonprofit environment, our security decisions are about supporting the mission, right? Unlike a for-profit environment where business outcomes or revenue growth are often the key drivers. And here the mission itself guides our priorities. So you said it best. We're not just protecting one company, we're looking out for a whole community. And that means dealing with different levels of maturity, regulations, and threats. So it's definitely unique. And I've been in roles where I was a part of that for-profit, where I'm responsible for the security program and managing to that, managing business outcomes and understanding what the security program means for that. I've been in situations where I've been employed to advise customers on what I would do based on my experiences, which is a position. This one's very unique. And it took me a little bit to get used to and to understand that I have dual roles, right? And I don't advise, I help collaboration happen. Trust is everything. If our members do not feel safe sharing information, we lose the chance to help each other. And I see my role as building that trust, making sure we have a strong governance, always putting the mission first. And I would say the most rewarding part for me personally is just seeing the outcomes, our members collaborating with each other and preventing attacks, because they know we've got their backs and they know that information sharing is the priority and it does work. So for me, it's not building anymore in terms of security programs and managing to outcomes. It's really just seeing others successful in avoiding issues because of the sharing that goes on in this community.
Very fascinating. So let's talk about the structure and the governance. I'm trying to visualize your role and how you connect with the leadership with the member organization. And I almost feel that you might be having some kind of a dual reporting relationship, but I don't know. So enlighten us. How does it work structurally?
Well, if you think about it, and it was really hard for me to kind of wrap my head around it when I first started, because I would start like explaining things and like giving people advice, and you have to kind of dial that back a bit, and you have to just bring people together on our platforms, on our community, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a summit, whether it's a CISO just calling me up saying, hey, I need somebody who has this, this, and this is a problem. I did it just a few weeks ago where somebody just called me out of the blue, didn't even know him, never spoken to him before, and just called me up and was like, sorry to bother you. I'm like, actually, that's my job. You can bother me anytime. And it was like, hey, can you help me with people in our community who have dealt with this? And I can't say what it is, of course, and I'm like, sure. And so what I do is I'm just a connector in that sense, where I reach out to certain people to see if they'll have conversations about certain topics that are of interest. And really, that's not me giving the guidance. That's the community helping each other. I'm the platform. I'm the vehicle in which they do so. And I've talked about this. There was some game show a while back that talked about like, you could phone a friend, you could do this or this or this to help you answer a question. It was a game show question. And the phone a friend, like imagine, if you will, if you had 300 plus CISOs to call, right? When you needed something. Like it's very effective.
Yeah, fair enough. In fact, I was part of a CISO community platform. I was probably the only academic or one of two academics on the CISO community platform. And that was set up to provide best practices, playbooks, and so on and so forth. But it was not specific to an industry. It was across all sectors. So I'm reasonably familiar with that model. But I find this very intriguing because you have member organizations that are probably extremely large, well-resourced. They have their own people, support, all possible capabilities, and probably their CISOs are also going to connecting with many other networks for intelligence, learning about best practices. So then I see this resource that your company offers, this platform, as one more thing for the CISO of, say, a Marriott, let's say, or a CISO of Hilton, that they can plug into for advice. So now that begs the question, for your community to be successful, to be viable, who are your competitors and how are you trying to provide the value-added service? What is it that you do and offer that will get CISOs talking to your platform or connecting with your platform more than the other traditional resources they have access to, including the resources provided by the federal government?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I would answer that with the vertical specific and the trust that our members instill in us and how we go about it, and the fact that we're focused on threat intelligence at the core of who we are. So that's first. And then I would say, when you build a community based on trust and The culture here is very interesting. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know another word to say except it's a beautiful thing to watch, where the commitment to each other is so strong and beautiful. I just don't know how else to say it. That people, once they're in the community, they find the ROI of what we offer so much high, like what we offer is so much higher than what it costs. So, I've heard that several times throughout the past year that I've been here. It's just amazing to watch.
Interesting.
I guess the return on investment is pretty high for us.
That's great to hear. Another follow-up to that, what skill sets that you bring to the table that helps you do the job that you do today in terms of the expectations, the capabilities that you're expected to provide? How does that connect with some of your unique skill sets or abilities?
I spend a lot of time listening, trying to understand what matters most to our members. And every member organization is different. So it's important that you meet people where they are and respect their unique perspectives. So honestly, for me, I know the role, I understand it, but I also have to have this open-mindedness, this ability to kind of listen and hear people and bring people together, right? So if you think about that, you have to understand the foundation of what the role is, the people that you're talking to. And, when I was advising people, I had a lot of people say to me, well, I'll listen to you. I've met people in your role before, but they were really in a sales role. They weren't necessarily a practitioner who's now doing this. And so I had to overcome that a little bit when I was doing that position. And that one kind of set me up for this role, I would say, because I'm not really great at selling. I'm really good at solving problems, being a part of something bigger than me. And so that forces me to listen because I've never really been the smartest person in the room. I've been able to identify smart people and bring them together to do great things on a team. So I would say it's a lot about collaboration, understanding others, opening up forum or a platform for people to talk and share. Listen, I'm not perfect at it. I do my best every day to the best of my abilities, but just having that foundation, that operational experience in IT for a long time. So I understand the foundation of what people are talking about, but also having that open mind to know that there's a lot of smart people in the room and they need to help each other. I don't need to help them. They need to help each other. So it's a very nuanced role that's very hard to describe.
I think I can relate to it because you are having to facilitate collaboration amongst subject matter experts. So you need to have that domain expertise, which is cybersecurity. Plus, you're playing a strategic role. That's part of your job title. So it is your role as a cybersecurity leader as well as general leader, where you are, as you mentioned earlier, you have to connect it to the overall goals and value propositions. In this particular case, your organization is a nonprofit. So while you have to connect what you do to the goals of the nonprofit, you also have to be sensitive to the value propositions of other organizations. So it is extremely a delicate balancing act. It's a nuanced role where you not only have to be sensitive to what your organization expects of you, but also what other member institutions are expecting you to provide. Again, I'm not trying to suggest that I'm an expert in what you do. I'm not. However, I had a kind of an experience with a community which comprised of security experts from different sectors. And I recollect once being asked to do a session where they wanted me to talk about my commitment, preparedness, discipline, CPD framework of holistic cybersecurity governance, where kind of I talked about the different factors that I empirically unearthed from research that connected to each of these dimensions of holistic cybersecurity governance. And then we went through an exercise where I shared each of the success factors, and the participants gave informal feedback on where their organization stood. For instance, What was the extent and level of active top management support? Or how truly empowered were their CISOs? Or to what extent they were able to establish we are all together kind of a cybersecurity culture. So we went through this exercise, going through each and every factor, 17 in all, 7 associated with commitment, 5 with preparedness, and the rest with discipline, to delineate what were some of the shortcomings, what were some of the best practices. Because what was a shortcoming for one, somebody else had a best practice that they were able to share. And I found that dialogue very enlightening, very exciting. So when I got an opportunity to talk with you, I said, it brings back memories of that exercise. I'm not trying to suggest it's the same, but definitely similar aspects to this way of or method of drawing upon collective intelligence and making it a continuous process. So you're constantly sharing. Okay, we tried this worked, but this didn't work. However, it might work in your context. It didn't work for us for these reasons. So I found that very, very interesting, that model, because as we all know, cybersecurity is so complicated and everyone has their own challenges. So everybody's looking for help. To have a ready resource, a continuous resource, just like the one you offer, is definitely helpful as compared to going to a conference once in a while and getting some feedback and maybe forgetting about what they learned. So this is almost like a repository of knowledge that they can tap into, correct?
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's just fascinating to watch people help each other and to just be sometimes a fly on the wall, sometimes a part of it, just being a connector or such. But I have a lot of great people around me like teaching me things, like this whole organization is, we say small but mighty. There's a lot of really smart people who have been doing this for a while, like including the president of the company. She's really great at building the culture, building up kind of the buzz and a lot of good people in this organization. So I'm still learning and I'm a year in, and sometimes it's very fast paced and sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. It's almost like a startup feel, but it's very powerful and just beautiful.
I think that's the word. It seems like you're going through a startup experience where you're trying to figure things out, what works, what doesn't work, what would be the appropriate KPIs.
Moves fast.
So which means the other capability or ability that you bring to the table is your ability to operate in very unstructured, uncertain, fast evolving environments where you are kind of building it up. So, CISOs who are listening in on this conversation, they are thinking, well, that might be a great opportunity for myself. I should consider it if it were to come my way. What advice would you have for them?
I mean, I think for me, the rewards of this role are personal, right? I have a deep positive experience with the last leg of my career and fighting this good fight. I would say absolutely go for it. These are positions that are necessary and needed, and they have their challenging days, but certainly I love it. I love the fact that it's fast paced, that it's constant change. I'm the type of person that thrives in change. So if you don't, then this probably isn't the job for you. But then I think any CISO job wouldn't be the job for you. Right?
True.
And I'm up for a good challenge. I'm very competitive with myself, which externally may come across as I'm competitive with others. I'm not. I've tried to explain that to people before and they just don't understand it. But I'm trying to make myself better constantly. And so being around so many CISOs and listening to their thought leadership and just monitoring that is something that I really enjoy. I really enjoy hearing other people's perspectives and trying to grow or be better in terms of our organization, myself, my team, all of it. So, but if you don't like being a builder in the sense of community, that's a big part of the job. And when I went into advising after I left my operational role, I got a few phone calls and people were like, you're going to hate that job. You're just going to hate it because you have to train people internally. You have to do this, you have to do that. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to hate that. I think I can handle it. And it turned out I was really good at it. And I'm glad I tried it. So it's just something different. And I was a little bit burnt out before. So it helped me kind of reset, reestablish, and build myself a little bit back up because I was tired. This job is both. It's operational, I'm responsible for it, and I'm responsible for community building. And I love both pieces. So it's a great fit for me.
It's interesting you mentioned about being a little burnt out. And that triggers a thought. When you are working as a CISO of a traditional organization, you are constantly dealing with certain typical type of organization with typical challenges, with typical threats. But now in your current capacity, you're dealing with a larger array of threats, challenges. I'm not trying to suggest they're all different. There are commonalities, but you have a bigger pool of collective intelligence to talk with, to consult, to make suggestions. So that hopefully provides you with a certain level of intellectual diversity, which could make the job interesting. My question, though, is as follows. Can you share with us an incident without getting specific or sharing anything proprietary, that how that incident was handled in your current context vis-a-vis how it would have been handled in your previous kind of a traditional role? In other words, this platform, this role, does it help you deal with certain incidents or threats more effectively than in a traditional CISO role?
Yeah, there's one situation that comes to mind where it was a supply chain attack, right? And so it could have exposed member information. We knew that. As soon as we learned about it, our team jumped into action, sharing alerts across our network, reaching out to others, like specifically reaching out to people who might be affected. And what really stood out to me, having a background in this work, is that really how much everybody cared about making sure the information that was shared was clear, it was timely, and it was actionable. And the team wanted the members to have exactly what they needed to respond, not just general updates, not just this is happening, not just noise, but it was practical guidance. And we got feedback from the member if they had not put in the remediation efforts, I'll just leave it, if they would have been impacted. And hearing back immediately, like, this would have gotten us. When something like that happens, you understand that it's not just one company's problem. It's up to all of us to work together. And people have said this, we're living proof of it. It really does take all of us together to fight back. And on the hacker side, they're fighting together, right? And so it just really was a powerful reminder of why we matter and why it's verticalized and why it's specific to our sector. We do go outside of our sector when we have issues that hit all sectors, and we collaborate on those as well. But the timely, actionable alerting and negotiation inside of our platforms is really what it's super powerful, and it works in cases.
Fantastic. I really commend this collaboration model. I think you said it rather well, that when we are trying to deal with cybersecurity threats where the attackers are organized, they're extremely well organized. So to deal with them, for an organization to do it by themselves, where they have to focus on why they are in the business, is hard enough. But to have the support of a community, that definitely helps, where the CISO can constantly tap into the platform and see what people are talking, what people are saying. And while there are several resources out there, I think sometimes if the community is more directly related to your industry and is a little bit smaller, sometimes the collaboration and interactions are better. So I think that explains why it is industry-specific audits focuses on certain verticals. So there is that balance between scope and, because if you go too broad, then it becomes overwhelming. You don't have that personal touch. But here it almost feels is like a small family that's trying to help each other prevent attacks. So definitely a very powerful model. And I'm glad that you've taken on that challenge and finding yourself evolving to this role. So congratulations to you. Well, like all good things, unfortunately, this discussion is coming to a close for now. But I always like my guests to wrap it up for us with some final thoughts.
Yeah, I think for us, like we believe collaboration is key. It's our secret sauce. So when we share in real time, we can respond faster and prevent bigger problems. That's the guts of it here. And I've seen firsthand how we can stop campaigns in their tracks. And that's what keeps me motivated. And we're constantly looking for ways to bring our community together to share best practices and make sure that we're all in this together. And I'm lucky to be a part of it. I'm one person that's a part of a bigger community, and we're very happy to take more members. I think that that's something that I would tell you if you're looking for a membership that has a great value. If you're interested in learning more, come get involved. Join us. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. I'm sure listeners will take that into consideration and might join. Who knows? Well, Pam, it's been truly a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me.
The information contained in this podcast is for general guidance only. The discussants assume no responsibility or liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this podcast. The information contained in this podcast is provided on an as-is basis with no guarantee of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness. The opinions and recommendations expressed in this podcast are those of the discussants and not of any organization.